Hi, I'm Michael Martinez. I'm the president of Reflective Dynamics Incorporated. I'm also the principal author of the SEO Theory blog, and I'm here talking with Kent Young of Roaring Pajamas SEO. Hello, Kent.
Hey, Michael, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. And Kent and I were just talking, so I know he's doing good. But we uh, we were not really sure what we should discuss this week. We ended up talking a lot about reputation management. So I guess we might as well. Why don't we talk about reputation management this week?
Great,
And,
let's do it.
on the SEO Theory Premium newsletter, one of our subscribers is a number of our subscribers are SEO agencies, and one of them wrote in this week and said that they had several prospects on the line for reputation management campaigns, and this was a fairly new subscriber, and he asked if we had discussed reputation management strategies and things in the past, and we have. There's no doubt we've published over 1,200 articles in the newsletter so far. But when I went to look at the master list, I could only find one article that had reputation management in the title. And so I thought I would just dedicate this week's issue to answering some of the kinds of questions that the people doing reputation management have. And I did get into, I guess, some of what we call the dark side stuff. I'm not going to talk about that on the video. But Kent and some other people expressed to me enthusiastic interest, I guess you could say, in the detail that I was able to go into. Some of the things that we used to do when I was fully engaged in reputation management. It's a little bit different now because Google pretty much killed private, well, I guess you call them the public blog network strategy. The first one, well, the only one that I ever actually fully dealt with as a customer was Fantomaster's 20 links a day, then 10 links a day network. And it was a subscription blog network. They had, I'm going to say, maybe between 5,000 and 10,000 domains. I don't know how many of them had content on them, but I never saw the full extent of their inventory. And we used their human-edited article spinning service. So they had software that you would basically commission them to write an article. You would then review the article and approve it, and they would spin it, and then they would have human editors go in and edit 1,800 versions of those articles. And I was pretty impressed with the quality of their content compared to the spun content that you can see just in the wild on the web. It was pretty good. It was almost human level content because people were editing it and fixing most of the errors. It was expensive. I think we paid between $500 and $600 per batch, and for the time we took on so many reputation management clients, and I'm talking billionaires and Fortune 500 companies and law firms and investment companies and things like that. But we took on so many reputation management clients, so we just couldn't handle the need for the links that you have to use in reputation management. And we'll get to that in a minute. So I forget how I found out about Fantomaster, but I've known Ralph for almost 20 years now, but somehow through the grapevine, I heard about the 20 links a day network, and so I checked it out and I did a review of it on SEO Theory. It was kind of a hedgy review because I saw the spam potential, and I didn't want to recommend that people go out and spam the search engine because they would get their websites penalized. I didn't want to tell people to go get their websites penalized, but I did talk about some of the advantages that a service like that could offer if you used it properly. And of course, as history has shown, people didn't use them even close to properly. I'm not even sure if there is a proper way you can use 5,000 blogs, but it was something that was kind of unique. There were other subscription blog networks available at the time, and we're talking, I guess, 2007, 2008. But they were pretty cheesy compared to what Fantomaster was offering. And we ended up spending several $1,000s a month on that network to support all the clients that we had. But they went out of business. They eventually folded, I want to say in late 2011 or early 2012. before the Google Blogacalypse, before Penguin, before all that stuff, all of Fantomaster links went away, and anybody who was benefiting from them did not suffer consequences. Uh, so I guess we had happy X clients that didn't get wiped out. But that's, I mean, that's it. Yeah, that's how we did it.
I think what's great about what you're saying, Michael, is that the behavior that you were, involved in while you were using sort of third-party tools to do that. I think the reality is that you understood the value of creating high-quality content that then could take over the search positions that were impacting your clients. And so we've seen a number of instances where clients have had a problem on the web, and we've been able to go in and find good content, ways to produce good content that would then push down some of that less than positive reputation for specific keywords that we knew were popular. And at the end of the day, I mean, especially when you run into situations like, people putting nasty reviews on Yelp for a brick and mortar company, and the review really amounts to, we found one where the review was really, we didn't like the paper that the invoice was printed on. I mean, that feels more like negative SEO. So in some cases, we were actually combating not really legitimate, reputation issues, but really, unhappy former employees or former customers, or even people that just didn't like them personally, writing crappy stuff about them on the web. And so that stuff was fairly easy to get either removed or downgraded. The tougher stuff that was, by legitimate news agencies, that was the stuff that was more challenging to deal with, right? To get it to move from the top position to something, on the second or third page. That really takes some effort, and it takes really good quality content to do it.
It does, and you're not always dealing with the New York Times. Sometimes you're dealing with a local newspaper or radio or TV station that just, for whatever reason, will not budge. We had a prospect. We didn't actually get the contract. We didn't want the contract, to be honest. At least my team didn't. But a home building company came to us, and this was when I was at Visible Technologies. It's not Reflective Dynamics, but a home building company came to us, and they were, I guess, they had a reputation for building shoddy homes. I don't know how many home building companies there are out there that have reputations like that. Probably quite a few. But this one just got hammered by a TV station. And so I went and I looked at the article for that particular company that was ranking #1 for their brand name. And there were 400 comments on the article. And every other comment mentioned the name of the company. And this was years and years and years ago, before Google started doing this, a few mentions are good, a bunch of mentions are okay, and after that there's a drop of inefficiency kind of stuff. So back in those days, if you couldn't compete on links, then you could compete on repetition on page. In fact, it was easier to put a keyword on a page 200 times than it was to go out and get 200 links, and it worked just as well. So we looked at that, and the sales guy came in and he goes, "Well, do you think you could take this down?" And I said, "Sure, if I can put the name of the company 200 times on some websites, I can easily knock the TV station out of the search results." And he goes, "What kind of content would you create like that?" I said, "I have no idea." I mean, you can't always create high quality content that's going to outrank angry content. Angry content is a quality of its own, and people, when they get upset, when they are really angry at someone, they go to town, and that is just very difficult to move. So a small news website is just as bad as a major news website, uh, when it's extremely negative and somebody cares enough about the article to link to it,
Mm-hmm.
or add comments to it or whatever, make it stronger. Uh, but as you know, and as many other people in the reputation management field know, it takes news to fight news, right? The best way to get rid of negative news is to create positive news. Um, and that's not always possible. So you mentioned something interesting to me earlier. Would you like to share
What do you mean?
about news articles, older news articles? You're drawing a blank. Okay, so when Kent and I were talking about some of the specific examples I put in today's newsletter, he mentioned that some reputation management projects he's worked on, the old news articles have been archived behind paywalls. And
Yes.
so that's kind of a blessing in disguise, because even if you can't move that stuff out of the search results, when people click on it, they can't read it, right?
Well, I think the important thing there is to realize that in a number of instances where you have news articles by reputable and well-meaning news outlets, right? Primarily newspapers, where at some point the article becomes something that gets archived. So the URL shifts a little bit, and what happens is it goes behind a paywall. So they want people, if they want to research something, they want them to pay for it. And which makes sense in some ways. They've got to find a way to justify their existence and certainly get some kind of revenue stream for the work that they've done in the past. So I think that's a great alternative to put older articles behind a paywall. For a lot of reputation management folks, this works to our advantage, because we know that at some point, and we can go into their article stream and we can figure out, oh, you know what, within a certain time period, whether it's year and a half, 2 years, at some point that information goes behind a paywall and it provides a revenue stream for that organization. But from a reputation management standpoint, that stuff just drops completely out of the search results, because it can no longer be seen, or that you can't even see the snippet. So it works to our advantage. Now, for other news organizations, especially some TV organizations, they put that stuff up on their video files, and that stuff never goes away.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a little bit more difficult to sort of manage and overcome, because they're very reputable and they're very compelling content, right? It's video content.
Pictures too. Pictures
breaking news. Right.
It's in fact, the principle of fighting fire with fire is just as true for video and image reputation management as it is for news reputation management. If you need to bump a video down, you have to publish more video. If you need to bump images down, you have to publish more images, because there's nothing else that's going to work. We had a celebrity client. I'm not going to name the person, who had some damaging images on the internet, and they came to us and they said, "What can you do about the images?" And I said, well, if you give us a lot of pictures of this person that we can publish, we'll put them on a bunch of websites, and we'll see if we can get those images to kind of push down the negative stuff. And to a large extent, it worked. You could still find the bad images, but they were no longer dominating the person's search results. In the general web search, the image, that little bar of images, we managed to clean that up. And when you went into any search itself, the top 1 or 2 rows of images were usually pretty good. But the bad ones were still down there, because we could never publish enough images on enough websites to get rid of all that stuff.
Well, and I think that sort of begs the question, right? So if you are someone with a high level of concern around your reputation, I mean, clearly with the current economic, or I should say political climate, there are those celebrities that would like to have the best view of themselves being published. But the reality is that if you're in that business, I'll use it. Let me give you an example. So when you work with a client, right, and they're going to have any exposure to press, PR, any exposure to anybody that could publish their content online, right? There's always going to be some level of training. Any responsible PR organization will go in and they'll say, have you had PR training? What did it consist of? What did they tell you? And basically, the first thing they do, the very, very first thing that they do is they say, if you're going to be with a reporter, don't ever say anything online or offline that you don't want to be reproduced. Because at the end of the day, right, there is no such thing as off the record.
Right.
There's no such thing. I mean, you can say whatever you want about the integrity of reporters, but they still have to make money, right? And so that's the challenge that you have, is that their defenses go down because their trust goes up. They feel a fair amount of confidence around the person that they're talking to, and suddenly they're sharing stuff that they would never, ever want to be published or produced.
Like Donald Trump's 11-year-old recording of his boy talk.
that is so classic, because, and he, I'm fairly confident that he knows better, and that he's been, before that actual interview, I am absolutely certain he has gotten a fair amount of PR training. But at some point your ego takes over.
Yeah.
Right? You become bigger, too big for your britches, and you basically say, you know what, this goes out, who cares? Nobody will believe me anyway. Well, I don't think that at that time he was thinking he was going to run for president, right? So he wasn't worried about it.
Yeah, that's true. Although Hillary Clinton got away with talking about Lenny Kravitz's appendage on video. Nobody made a big fuss about that. I guess that's just girl talk.
Well, the reality is we're all human. We all make mistakes. We say stuff that, in certain circumstances that we would, in retrospect, we would never repeat, because frankly, like I said, you get a little bit comfortable and you say stuff that you wouldn't normally say in front of somebody that can record it, and it comes out later and you're like, what did I do, right?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where you're like, you feel terrible about having allowed your defenses to go down. So you can say whatever you want about Hillary or Donald Trump, but the reality was they just got too comfortable, right? They got too comfortable and did not follow their, ever-present PR training.
That's true. So yeah, there are challenges in reputation management that sometimes are insurmountable. When you have a client that just keeps making bad choices or controversial statements or something like that, it's very hard to do live reputation management, and we've turned down opportunities to work on such challenging projects because literally until the person shuts up, there's no way that stuff is going to go away. It's like pouring salt on an open wound, and the public feels that pain, and they're just going to keep complaining about it. And there are so many things that Donald Trump's reputation could be built on that were far more positive than what has come out in this election.
It's true for both candidates.
Yeah.
I mean, Hillary has done some amazing shit, right? I mean, she's been a great public servant, and yet she's gotten herself sucked into whole kinds of stuff that, some of it's within her control, some of it's just not. right?
Bad judgment. Bad judgment on both sides of the aisle. Okay, so
Absolutely.
we need to skirt the full political
Politics.
discussion here. But the point is, I mean, both Donald and Hillary will probably survive this because 5 to 10 years from now, nobody's going to care, you know, unless they do something new. Uh,
Hmm.
a lot of the stuff ages out,
It
and
does. It does,
um,
especially in search. I mean, I think in search, the truth is that there is always a preference to fresh content.
there is. And if when Robert Irvine, who the chef who did Dinner Impossible, when he
Hmm.
got caught inflating his resume, my God, what a scandal that was, right? he he lost some business deals, and he was laid off from Food Network. But of course, his viewing audience was really upset, and they had to bring him back. But while he was in limbo, a lot of people were going, "Well, the guy's reputation is ruined forever." And I wrote an article on SEO Theory uh, called Robert Irvine and Reputation Impossible Dilemma. And I said, it's not over for him. I mean, there are all sorts of things that he can do right now to turn this around. You know, and I used the metaphor of save a baby from a runaway train. Literally, if you have been caught red-handed, you know, sacrificing Girl Scouts to dark gods, but you go out and you save 1,000 people, okay? If you, I mean, you know, you break out of prison and you save 1,000 people from like a terrorist attack or something like that, you're going to get good publicity. You know, they may put you back in prison for sacrificing the Girl Scouts, but doing something good doesn't erase the bad, but it helps to balance it. And we often took on reputation management clients that were afraid to do anything. They were just paralyzed. Oh my God, we've got this bad press out there. We need to bury it. We don't want our names ever used again, which just made no sense whatsoever. Uh,
I loved what you said about the client that you said, hey, we can fix this. If you give away $1 million, we can fix that overnight. And sure enough, they ponied up. And they didn't pony up that amount, but they
they ponied up
definitely.
much more than $1 million, and oh man, did that fix it overnight. We woke up to instant positive news on every major news website. Uh, that was just bodacious as all get out.
See, so you know, I hate to say that if you throw money at a problem, that it fixes it. But frankly, if in some ways, if you throw money at a problem, it does in fact fix
Yeah.
it.
Of course, not everybody's got $1 million or more to give to charity. I actually have a reputation issue that I have never tried to fix. Some guy who's a little bit off balance came after me in 2012. He accused me of, I guess, reneging on some business deal or something. I'd never heard of it before. There were, I did some research at the time. There were like 6 people named Michael Martinez who were active in the SEO industry. That was just based on what I found on LinkedIn. And if the guy really did have a deal go south with someone named Michael Martinez, he just mistook me for somebody else. And he created a bunch of naughty websites and pictures of me and what he thought were embarrassing situations. Some of them were kind of funny, uh, some of them were stupid, and he just came after me, guns blasting. And I found out who he is, and I found out that he does that, or he did do that to a lot of other people, including his own brother. And so once I found out that he was a habitual attacker, I guess I'll say, it seemed to me that he had some emotional issues or something like that. I didn't take it personally. I did. I mean, whatever his problem was, I wasn't a part of it. I'm sorry for him that he thought I was, but I just let that sit. Nobody has ever come to me in all the years, in the last 4.5 years, nobody's ever come to me and said, Michael, I found these allegations about you online. What do you have to say about that? And I have even talked about this openly a few times on the blog. I may have mentioned it in some of our videos. I don't remember. I've talked about it in the newsletter. Nobody has ever come to me and said, I've come across these allegations about you. What do you have to say in defense of yourself? Uh, and so that experience has kind of led me to believe that not every reputation crisis is as serious as it feels. And I want to make sure that that people understand that I do respect their feelings. Your feelings are very real and they can be very strong, and you have to live with your feelings and you have to view the world around you through your feelings. So you have to deal with that, and that's not a pleasant experience for anybody. I certainly didn't feel good when I found out about this reputation attack. But some of our clients, when they came to us, they would complain that their businesses were going to go under or whatever because of the negative publicity. And the approach that we took uh, was to find good content and promote that good content and create more good content. It was a very slow, long-term approach, and it was designed to not attract the attention of spam teams at major search engines. We didn't want to get the client campaigns in trouble, for spamming it. Now, of course, at the beginning of this session, I just explained how we ended up using the Fantomaster blog network for a lot of links. We just had a huge demand for our services, and we had to have those links to point to news articles and things like that. But we really, our first step forward with every client was to get the good content that was already out there organized, if they controlled it, optimized, and to get any business partners they worked with to promote, whatever the relationships were that could be sent up in a positive light. And we tried to get them to focus on sending a positive message so that the negative message kind of faded into the background. And that worked with some of them. Some of them, they just would not budge. They're not going to create any content. You have to fix this problem with what's out there.
Right. Well, and I think that goes to how you help people to understand how search works. I tease when I'm doing training around search engine optimization. I tease people a little bit because I'm like, you kind of got to think like a search engine, right? You got to think about, what would you display? What is the most relevant? What is the best search result for this query? And if you look at all of the other types of content out there and you come to the conclusion that your stuff's not the best, then you're probably not going to get that content to rank above the other stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, you have to think like a search engine. And while it's difficult, it's not impossible. People, if they sort of look at the big picture, it's not difficult to say, you know what, my content's not good enough. I need to find better content. I need to find more authoritative sites to put it on. It's a challenge.
Yeah. One of the other big challenges that reputation management people face is Wikipedia. When you get negative content in a Wikipedia article, you can't just go in and remove it. That's been tried. Right. If you are in a good position with Wikipedia, you might be able to go in and add real information that kind of changes the emphasis of the article so that the biography is not all about the negative stuff. But you have to be able to back it up, and you have to have a good reputation on Wikipedia as an editor, as a contributor, because anytime someone tries to fix a biography, there are literally alerts that are sent to some system administrators, and anybody can watch a page on Wikipedia. You just log into your account and you say, I want to watch this page. And so a lot of people with vested interests in keeping the negative stuff there may put alerts on these biographical pages. So it takes a lot of subtlety to really successfully manage a Wikipedia profile. One way you could do that, though, is to create other wiki sites or to find other wiki sites that are already there and create better content on those wiki sites and then link to that content, and then you get two wikis in there. Sometimes you can get rid of the Wikipedia article. It's better, though, if you can modify the Wikipedia article so that the search snippet that appears doesn't emphasize the negative stuff. People who are looking for the negative stuff are less likely to click on a Wikipedia article if they don't think that the Wikipedia article talks about it.
Right. That makes sense. And that's part of the challenge, I think, is making sure that you're not trying to manipulate, but just highlight what you think is better.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's more value statement than it is just being SEO spammer?
Yeah, the spamming, that's not very efficient. We don't really have time to go into that, but we we actually, I say this on some of the videos. Yeah, we should come back to this, and we never come back to these topics. I need to go back and review the videos and see which ones we promised to come back to. But we could probably do several videos on reputation management, because I did that, nothing but art reputation management for 3 years when I was at Visible Technologies, and we had to invent an awful lot of different ways of dealing with complicated search results, and without creating a web spam problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a challenging time. It was kind of fun, and so there are times when I kind of miss those days, but I miss having a good team to work with. I don't really miss having the sour clients. Happy clients were always better than unhappy clients.
Well, it's a little bit puzzle-like. I mean, you have to admit, Michael, that when you have a client that's willing to put a lot of money into fixing what shows up on the website on search results, because, frankly, something gets published they either had control over or did not have control over. At the end of the day, right, it's about having their business survive.
Yeah.
In some cases. And so in some ways you're like, okay, we need to figure out what the puzzle is here, because
it's like a Chinese puzzle. Chinese finger trap. You want to be able to play with it without getting stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So we might come back. I'm never going to promise again that we'll come back, but we may come back. So it's been a good discussion. So we're still not regular. We're still not recording on a regular basis. I've been ill for the past couple of months, on and off, just allergies, colds, due to traveling and things like that. And so I've been a little irregular on committing to time with Kent, but we're still going to keep making videos, and we hope you keep watching.
Yep. Thanks, Michael. It was a great discussion.
Okay. See y'all next time.
Take care.